Hello, my name is James Dargin. I live in Wollongong. But yes, my journey is to share forgiveness, not only this whole nation, but I hope forgiveness reach the world. But yes, how I became into forgiveness, well, I've been through trauma, pain, loss for over, close to 50 years. But it started off in the Catholic institution, where I was sexually, physically, mentally abused in that institution until the age of 6 years old. And that institution, because of the abuse, I even got baptised in that institution, and which I was terrified. Because of the abuse, I assumed that they were going to pour hot water on me, so I started screaming. So, yes, and after that, at the age of 6, my father came up from where he was, because he found out we were in there by a family member, and he came and him and his wife come up and took us from out of that institution. And then we travelled all the way back to New South Wales, because the institution was in Queensland. We went back to New South Wales, and I assumed that everything was going to be right, because the institution I was in never showed love, so I didn't know what love was. I thought I was being punished because, I was just a naughty kid, and that's, and I thought Jesus was punishing me back in, because I was in the Catholic institution, so I assumed Jesus was punishing me, for, I don't know what or why. But after that, I went to, New South Wales with my father and my stepmother, me and my brothers. There's 3 of us. So we all, 3 of us went down to my father's when he in New South Wales, and my stepmother. And when we got there, I thought that everything was going to be right. I thought everything was going to be perfect. We're going to have a perfect family. There's going to be love in the family. But I was wrong. And my dad and my stepmother, they had a door access to the kitchen, which she only had to have a key to get into that kitchen. We didn't have access to the kitchen. We didn't have a key. We weren't allowed to go in there, and we're hungry, we have a feed. If we had a snack, we weren't even allowed to that. It got to a point that, if we see a door open, if my stepmother or my dad walked away, and they leave the kitchen door open for a few seconds, that was a chance to get something to eat. And I had that opportunity when I was only little. The door's open, I looked around, I ran in, and there was a bowl of potato in the fridge. It was that hard, I nearly choked on potato. And there was a bottle, I thought it had cordial in it, but it was oil. So these are the things we dealt with after the first abuse. My brother was put on the stove because he was accidentally playing around with matches. He's passed away now, but I asked him, I said, "You got that mark of that stove thing on your ass?" He said, "Yes." I still got it, brother, and I still remember it. But I remember the trauma and the pain. Not only that, we were getting off our father and my stepmother. Me and my brother had to walk to school. We had to cop racism abuse because of the colour of our skin. We didn't understand. I didn't understand it. But I got to a point I hated being black because I didn't want to receive them words, And so, after that, we just constantly just went through physical, tied to my brother was tied under the house. We were tied to a bed. And the kitchen door, wherever he moved, the kitchen door was always had a key to it. Even one time my grandfather came and stayed with us. He used to wake us up 1 o'clock in the morning. He said, "Come on, boys, go have something to eat," because he had the key to the kitchen door. He'd watch out while we ate. And that's my grandfather. Even I only had a few friends. My friends knew about this. They knew about abuse. Even one of my friends' family wanted to adopt me. But because of all this trauma and abuse that we went through, I wanted my brothers to go first. I wanted them out of the house. I wanted us to find our biological mother. So my younger brother went first. He went back to mum's. And then my brother, he went back to mum's. I was the last one. So I got to a point at the age of 14, I had to stand up for myself and tell my father, how could you live with a woman like that? He had a choice of knocking my head off my shoulder or let me go. But he let me go. This is the age of 14. I was a child, I didn't know. But I knew I couldn't take it anymore. So at the age of 14, I went to my mother's, and she lived in Sydney. And I thought, well, I'm going to feel what love's like, because I never had it, never received it, neither my brothers. But then I found out my mother loved alcohol. So she, at 14, 9 months, she put me on a social security benefit. That was $72 for it. That was big back in them days. A lot of money. And I didn't know nothing about money because I was never taught. She used to take half of it so she could, pay for her luxury of alcohol, going out, drinking, party, go away for 3 days. And the reason why, anyway, she put me on centre, she said my stepdad couldn't afford to look after me. And my mother was raising 3 other children, which were her grandnieces. And so that was another pain, and suffering, trauma that I went through, You couldn't look after us, but you're looking after other family members' children. And so growing up in Redfern and Alexandria and Waterloo was very painful. Everything in the world was coming against me. It wasn't love, it was pain. It was like just pumping pain into me. I know people go through pain and take painkillers, but I didn't have painkillers. I just bottled up that pain, even with the police force. I was taken out in the bush by the police force for no reason. They said, take your shirt off, James. I said, why? So we don't leave no blood on it. Okay, I said, well, another black death in custody. So they took me back to the police station. Then they let me go. I started drugs and alcohol at the age of 14. I gave up alcohol at the age of 50. I had toxic relationships, children. My oldest son is 42. I was 15 years old when I had him. His mother passed on because she was murdered. She was chopped up in pieces and put in a suitcase by her boyfriend. And they found the boyfriend's wife in a garbage bag in the cupboard. So my son lost his mother. Not only that, my son lost a father because I was only young. And then from then on, the pain and the suffering just got worse and worse. My mother used to smash me over the head with a bottle of beer. I was put a boning knife up to my chest. I threatened to throw her through a window because of that. Then I had my stepdad. And I asked my stepdad, I said, Mum put me on benefits because you couldn't afford to look after me. And he told me, he said, that's a lie, James. I said, I was a builder's labourer back in them days. I was making plenty of money. So my mother lied to me about my stepdad. But my stepdad, protected me. He became a father more than my own father, and he was a white man. He protected me if Mum attacked me. So I grew up, do not touch women. I always kept that, because I grew up in Redfern, where domestic violence was commonly every day. I just sit on the footpath and cry. I couldn't do nothing. I was a young boy hearing these women in domestic violence. That traumatically affected me. So with all this trauma, pain that I went through, when I was racially abused, I became racist. I hated the white man. I hated every culture that came to our country. I didn't understand till I got a bit older that, when forgiveness came in my heart. And the first forgiveness that came was, I forgave my mother. And I said to my brother, forgive Mum for what she has done. Then I forgave my father. I forgave my stepmother. My stepmother's still alive, and I love her, respect her. I forgive the police force. I forgive my sister. My sister, she was racial against me, and I'm her brother. Because she didn't like me around her with her friends. But I forgive her. I was in a prison, it was in my soul. But everything I received, it built up. Even asked my children to forgive me for alcohol and drugs. Even the mother of my children forgive me for what I have done in a relationship. I wasn't blaming her, I wasn't condemning her, I was looking at myself for forgiveness. I've forgiven brother Christians that have come against me, persecuted me. I even forgive the refugee people that have come here to find safe haven in this country. But also I'm sharing forgiveness with them. I want them to forgive their country for what their country has done to them. Yes, so you have to forgive yourself first. I've chosen to forgive myself first. I've been to Anglican church, I've been to other churches, and I have asked for forgiveness for what I have said as a First Nation man. I'm accountable for what I've said. I'm accountable for the words that I have spoken against people in this nation, non-Aboriginal people, people from other countries, even religion, people from other religions. Forgiving, especially with our First Nation people. We've got to start forgiving each other because there's a lot of division in families, Indigenous families. One thing I learned about forgiveness? I always carry this around me. Watchman Nee, a Chinese evangelist, a Chinese Christian teacher. He said the biggest door we open up for Satan is unforgiveness. So forgiveness for me is for this nation to shut that door of unforgiveness. Even the words that we have spoken against each other. And it says in the Bible, your words can be used against you on Judgment Day, so be careful. Because I have repented, I have asked God forgiveness for everything I've said, everything I've done. I'm not here to make a name of myself, I'm not here to score brownie points, I'm just here to speak the truth. And the truth will set you free. If it wasn't for this, I wouldn't be standing here asking for the nation and sharing forgiveness. If I'd had unforgiveness on my heart, I wouldn't care. But forgiveness on my heart, I do care. I care about everybody. I don't care who they are or where they come from. Forgiveness has got to be shared. Let's start doing this in Australia and our nation to forgive each other. People mightn't receive it, but many will. So I'm going to be sharing forgiveness till the Lord takes me. People might get sick of hearing it, but I'm not going to stop. Because it's important to forgive, as if you're lost. And also, let forgiveness be spread in the church. We are children of God. We got Jesus. Let's show the example of forgiveness in our brethren, in our churches, our leaders, our pastors, and every Tom, Dick and Harry that's, religion. Forgive a Muslim. Don't judge them. That's their faith. It's their belief. Forgive them. Or ask forgiveness for what you have said against them, because I have said nasty things about other religions, especially Muslim. I want to ask forgiveness for what I've said, because it's not for me to judge them. It's not for me to, that's their faith. But forgiveness is what I want to share. I don't care who they are. Let's carry this forgiveness around, especially with our First Nation people. Start forgiving. Look behind the flesh and the skin and look at the heart and the soul and forgive. Forgive the people on addiction. It's not your right to judge them and it's not your right to tell them. They're probably going through something that you don't understand, I don't understand, but forgive them. So let's carry this forgiveness not only to the nation, but to each other and our families. Don't be frightened. It's not going to bite you. Forgive is better than unforgiveness. Because Jesus wants you to come, but unforgiveness, Satan's going to use everything for that door to stay open, but forgiveness is going to shut that door and set you free. Peace, I love you. Amen.